We'll see. Either way, Battleground number 4 is ready here. Dreadnought, ask and you shall receive, because
Hey.
HeroesHearth is going to bring it up.
I like this here. HeroesHearth Esports, I mean, to be frank, is a skilled enough team that I don't think there's any Battleground I go, oh, this might be a problem. But this is one of those few moments where I go, this is you willing to pick a Battleground that possibly might cater to the strengths of Simplicity. So I like it. It's going to be fun here to be able to see this unfold. And does Simplicity look a bit more well-rounded on a Battleground that macro can't be as devastating?
The hard part for me to wrap my head around for Simplicity is the way that HeroesHearth plays.
Yeah.
You take away one thing, they have a strength in another. They can run a solo Abathur here. They can run a Li Ming, maybe Greymane here. They can run Murden Tyrande or anything Tyrande. They can run a Hanzo. They can run the Genji. I mean, the possibilities are endless. For Simplicity, to the point that you made, if they are going to play on Battlefield of Eternity here, which is a map they can skirmish, I think they can almost replicate a similar style draft to just throw down. Just let loose. If King Caffeine can play Diablo, stop banning it, make them ban it, and pick it up, because you can wall bang people all over the place here on Battlefield of Eternity.
No, you can. And that's a good point. I think some level of deviation here is very much desired, because when we started this series, we talked about how if one of them's going to get wild, man, this music.
I know, I'm listening to you, but I'm like,
there's the drop.
sound.
Oh, baby, that's what we needed. My heart was racing there.
I got your ear. I was explaining to Dreadnought that. Go ahead.
I forgot what I was saying purely on the ear comment in the car.
Dreadnought didn't play Diablo 2 as much as I did. We all know that if you could PK somebody, you could loot them and take their ear. If you didn't play that, that's where Deckard Cain's I Got Your Ear voice line comes in to the Diablo fans. I know you guys love it. Diablo 3 season started yesterday. Don't forget that. Season 15.
I remember my point. I'm sorry.
Okay, go ahead.
But it was just going to be that I thought Simplicity would be a bit more standardized within their drafting, and it is standard-ish for the most part here, but I guess I figured we would see some deviation from what we got in the past, but still relative to the meta itself. And they are introducing a little bit of the double support kind of an implementation here, and that's where they did end up getting one win, but I guess I expected more from them here, because they, again, unlike yesterday, have something to be gaining out of this in the fact that it's a great team to be able to practice and earn from, because they do need to fight for their, literal careers here, now knowing they are in the Crucible.
I think that to further your point, the thing that stands out most to me is sub or not. Bam, bam, it doesn't matter who's filling that role. HeroesHearth, you take away whatever heroes they pick. The knowledge that they have, their game knowledge alone, is enough to say, I don't care what heroes you play, I don't care if you have role swaps in every single role. The game knowledge that HeroesHearth brings to the table is enough to say, I know that you are going to push me because you are so good at understanding the game as a whole. And so for Simplicity, it doesn't matter who's on that other side. They're getting very good practice here.
I agree with you. I think that HeroesHearth Esports, we often hear teams, especially shot callers, say that I can't be asked to micro everyone at this level. And a lot of teams go like, my shot caller has to tell me, I have to tell him to go to Knights, then to mid lane, and then back to the Tribute. And it's
you
like,
should already know.
I can't do that. You should already know that type of information. I feel like HeroesHearth Esports is very much that team. That it's we already know as a unit for the most part with some very high-end decisions. And so that is, I can't help but feel like part of the reason with that one deviation, no matter who the fifth is, because all the rest carry that almost independency and maturity within their decision making in the game itself. It makes it not nearly as devastating when we see that. And I think if anything, just gives that much more credit to them as a roster.
It's incredible. Hanzo, Genji, both let through here. If you don't pick one, you can rest assured it will go to the other side. If you don't pick both, the white main will be picked up. This does play into potential double support, but if there's a Hanzo on the other side, double support does have trouble at times initiating Dread.
But the Shimadas don't, and both of them are available. I love the synergy between the two as well. The poking and prodding of Hanzo with the ranged initiation and the gap closing just kill you of Genji, they're a beautiful duo. Like they were truly born to be together here, even in Heroes of the Storm.
J-How and Dreadnought. Deckard.
Yeah, just like, all right, real question. Are you Hanzo or are you Genji? I can tell you this, I definitely know I'm one of them.
I definitely know I'm one of them too.
Then who is it?
I'm Genji.
Nope, I'm done. I'm done. That was me. That's not.
Genji looks taller, slightly less muscular, more handsome with the shield on his face. Because we don't want to know what's underneath there, because then we might be twins.
You're making me the bad guy.
Hanzo's the good guy.
Hanzo killed him.
What? Genji was a bad guy.
I'm done. It's one of the only lore stories I actually know even a little bit about.
Genji did bad things.
He wasn't necessarily the sweetest guy on planet Earth, but it doesn't mean that I feel like he was justified to be killed by his own brother.
Clearly, he's not dead, Dread.
Then ends up taking it in response, gets the swap bamboozle, and then suddenly you get the greatest, in my opinion, cinematic of all time. Those two together. Anyways, we have a draft going on.
Hammer makes its way all the way to the second ban. Genji is still available here, so if they did want to go double Shimada, it's available.
I'm surprised Double Shimada made it past second ban phase. The first pickup with the Decker priority, I don't think that's that surprising. Maybe on Battlefield of Eternity, for me, I feel like it's a big setback, but they did see a Toronto ban, right? And that changes a little bit the adjustments and priorities there as we get ourselves the Arthas and the Li Ming. Talk about a very win-harder composition here for Heroes Hearth between the Li Ming poke, the Hanzo poke, and the Arthas enabling. Very devastating.
It feels like a Murden here will fit in with Simplicity. But with the Rainer, I need more. They have the Genji. They have the Genji if they want it. It gives you that Executioner, the follow-up to a lot of CC.
No Genji.
Tychus.
I mean, it's Arthas' worst nightmare.
Yeah.
It's one of the best answers to Arthas, even though Arthas has the auto attack debuff minigun. The bigger they are, trades a lot better into that matchup. Puts Arthas in a lethal position a lot more frequently than some of the others. Has some of the best anti-mage mechanics with Neosteel Coating post 13. Puts him in a position to deal with the Li Ming pretty well, and also enables the Immortal itself through the Odin usage. Also, one thing to consider, using the Draken Laser into a double warrior is an amazing tool. The increased damage for the longer onto a target as well puts you in a position where Arthas just goes, I'm running around with a bunch of ghouls, but it doesn't matter because I'm already dead.
I can't out-heal the damage.
Yeah,
it's pretty terrifying. Tyrael, though. No Blaze. Blaze falling off. But Tyrael.
The Tyrael Arthas is devastating. It's I will always still compliment it as one of the best double warriors together because they make up for a lot of each other's problems all at the same time.
Movement speed.
Yeah, like Arthas is surviving, getting onto the target, and Tyrael's is like my mana and dealing with staying onto the target because of my mana, and really other than that, it's just having somebody else to be distracting. Arthas removes the attack speed debuff. I give you the smite, you move in, I give you the shields, we're good to go. We just punch everything to death, and it's very hard to do. They have some of the highest damage out of the warrior roles as well, so it puts it in a really good position. I like the two together, have the Li Ming behind, the Hanzo poke, talked about that. Overall, cookie-cutter comp, but well-rounded from Heroes Hearth.
The Hanzo alone on Battlefield of Eternity seems like enough. Deckard, we've touched on his win rate lately on Battlefield of Eternity, by far his worst win rate, but it's in the hands of Heroes Hearth. Strong team. Picked up several W's with that on their side, but they've picked up several W's with a Hanzo and a Li Ming, this time on both teams, and Ishbu still flexing to the range as he'll be on the Li Ming.
Got ourselves McIntyre there onto the Tyrael. When it comes to, I'm trying to see if we will see any major possible adjustments in build when looking at the double warrior of Heroes Hearth Esports. Other than maybe some more focus into Tyrael and Arthas being a bit more damage-oriented, I don't see that being the case here. On the question of to smite, or excuse me, not to smite, but to sanct or not to sanct, this is very much, in my opinion, a sancting circumstance with the Arthas, enabling that. You might be able to, you know, judgment onto a backliner, but Tychus is the original please judgment me backliner. Pretty much the only target you can get that on effectively is Rainer throughout the entirety of the composition of Simplicity, and we already talked about Sanctification plus Arthas equals feels good.
I really like Tychus in a lot of situations. Some heroes have kind of passed him by. The Relentless Soldier to deal with those stuns at level 7. K1 Pro, he's going to get rooted in. He wish he had Relentless Soldier now on the Rainer. But Neo still coding as 13. Well, that's Scatter Arrow. First blood here by HeroesHearth, countering that push, and that seemed avoidable for Simplicity.
I do want to highlight, though, Hosi, I think, did a really good job within that skirmish. Once the crowd control came out with the initiation by HeroesHearth Esports, Hosi immediately focused on Krohn. Drops all of his minigun damage onto Krohn. The minute that stops, puts the Q on top of it, gets the spray and pray channel as long as he possibly can, and then when the situation gets too dire, get the dash out. He was trying to threaten the range so that there is no kill potential, even if the crowd control is landing. And if it wasn't for maybe, you know, BBJ there with a couple of potions, he may have even found himself a kill. As this game moves on, with the bigger they are, that could very much be the kill, especially post-16 if we see lead rain, things of the like picked up.
Calf will pick up the globe there as he leaps past behind, but the tower damage starting to accumulate. Simplicity will pick up a camp in the bottom, try and counter with a push of their own, but HeroesHearth has turned their attention to the Impalers. King Caffeine will just sniff this out, trying to stack that level 1 talent and the baseline. 3 stacks so far.
I wonder if we're going to go ahead and see that bonus damage at level 4 for the race onto the Immortal itself. In this type of composition, it's tough because into the Sanctification plus the Arthas double melee of the composition of HeroesHearth, you're going to gain a lot of value out of healing stack plus the reverberation of 4. But then you're like, but about that raise potential, right? And then also keep in mind, Sanctification, when they truly stack, you actually can't hit with the reverb. So it puts you in a tough position where you won't get value out of that healing static. It is going to be the reverb pickup there. And it's the bigger they are there at level 4 for Tychus, making that Arthas time really tough.
It gives you serious initial burst, and without the mobility, Arthas can suffer from that. Armor will not help on that percentage-based damage. I think you also made a very good case for, in the rhythm, on ways that you could utilize that. But getting that single target damage is exactly what they're going for.
In the rhythm and double warriors is one of the most satisfying little quest talent situations you can find yourself in Heroes of the Storm. How many dings you get?
Every time I see a Rexar on the other team.
Yeah.
Misha all day.
Feels so bad to be a Misha. A little bit of damage coming out here from Krohn there. Excuse me, that's Ishbu. I'm sorry, I see a HeroesHearth and I see a Li Ming and I go, that's Krohn.
Bam Bam locked in.
The bigger they are, the harder
they are, and he's like, man, maybe I should have walked into that Immortal stun. That would have hurt less. He probably still would have died there. But playing around the Immortal stuns there, an Arthas health bar falling that fast, there's only one thing doing that, and that is that Tychus minigun.
Yeah, and it's not going to change post 7. Normally, when you see Arthas die early game, you go, wait till I get icebound. But that's not the case. Tychus doesn't care. He'll go, all right, that doesn't matter. Shred through that armor and get the damage output there. The Immortal race is going to be very important here for Simplicity as they got King Caffeine trying to anchor on the back end there. Moves up, trying to get the damage onto Ishbu. The race very tense here. 2,000 victory in favor of Simplicity. Are they going to get it? 128 HP on that shield.
Dominance achieved. Red Immortal coming out. Triumvirate picked up for Ishbu. Try and get those cooldowns. And there it is. There's the stun. Bigger they are. That was with a healing potion or 2 that came out. So Hosi capitalizing on that. He's also going the extra range. We've seen at times playing around the globe talent. This is one where making up that gap, getting the extra auto attack range after you use your run and gun, that allowed him to make up that distance and get some of that damage in, and he'll continue to play around that.
Right there, and we see the stun coming in McIntyre, the damage out with the minigun, and there it is, enough damage to pick up the kill onto Tyrael. Passive goes and rids of rest of the minions, so Simplicity have to back out and not finish the siege here over this fort. No mule available for HeroesHearth Esports, so not a concern towards bottom, but a big, big advantage here in the early game for Simplicity.
Simplicity full level lead so far, Dreadnought. They've come and they've conquered the early game, something we haven't seen in the first 2 games. In game number 2, the first 3 games. Game number 2, they had a lot of the late game control. Were able to turn that around. King Caffeine, nice juke there by Ishbu. He's like, I know what it's like to throw in Murd and Stormbolt. I can anticipate where that's going. Nice sidestep. And Li Ming going Seeker here, so full on. This is old school post 2 months of Li Ming release build. This was the standard until Korea said Calamity's good, and then everybody else changed since then.
Bam Bam comes in with that Howling Blast there. And I feel like we just saw a rotation from Bam Bam where you can see those moments of his long while out of competitive because he had a very easy offensive rotation with full information to go offensive to make sure he could open with a Frozen Tempest rather than that dire Howling Blast, but instead positioned where he got the anchor where Cap could get the reveal. Opens up there with damage on the Hosi, but Tiger JK able to heal it up as King Caffeine applying a pressure towards the backline of HeroesHearth. We got 20 seconds out from the next Immortal phase here, and Simplicity closing on the Heroics. HeroesHearth has a very small window where they need to force, and they got to be successful with it.
There's not a lot going in terms of auto attack and supporting, and we don't see Icy Talon, so we're seeing Reciprocate picked up by Tyrael at level 7. So when your shield expires or it's destroyed, it does burst damage to nearby enemies. Tyrael will be looking to live in the middle of fights, potentially in the backline. It raises up another question of, could we get the Judgment?
Yeah, it is a weird situation, but I also think, hold on, Tiger JK falling low there. Smite coming down, McIntyre trying to clean it up, and he will as the Howling Blast goes down. Not going to land, but it's not necessary as 2-man kills here for HeroesHearth. J-How said they had a small window and they needed to be successful, and they answered the call so very quickly for HeroesHearth. But what I was going to say is I think that is more of a, we have a double warrior comp. We need a little bit of damage coming through here. And also with the Arthas slowing everybody down, Tyrael speeding everybody up, it makes it really likely that you get 2 to 3-man blow-ups there out of that Reciprocate.
Simplicity has 10, but they just got Murden and Whitemane here. McIntyre eating that minigun when you see that light up.
If they're going to commit to an all-in with a 10 disadvantage, they need McIntyre to suicide along with Hanzo. Hanzo has the race cape. Wow, that Odin is a big setback here for Simplicity. It's going to make them have to win the race. They need to win the race if they're willing to pop the Odin in this type of situation. Ishbu's taking damage. McIntyre getting the damage out, but Hanzo's the biggest fear here. Tyrael passive is not going to have 1.5k. Really good Eldruin's preset there.
Yeah, the point you bring up with the Odin is one of the best defensive tools in the game, the best anti-siege tools in the game. Using it for the race there, I'm not sure if that's where the majority of your race comes in. Tyrael does die, and that's enough.
Not only that, J-How, but let's say they won the Immortal. They lost a lot of siege capabilities. They lost a lot of everything in the fact that that was the Odin decision-making at that point in time, and they were willing to commit to that skirmish, but not obtaining the objective. Tyrael is down for 4 seconds, and here we see the Immortal just about to spawn for HeroesHearth. So there are silver linings as they find themselves a Crow in one-shot there. Bam Bam's now going to be the next focus. They get another. And quickly, a lot of my concerns I just had disappear from that initiation of Simplicity, capitalizing on the lack of McIntyre.
Sieging is a lot easier when the other team's not behind the objective. And they're behind it, but they are far behind. So they'll lose 2 towers, potentially at the end of that. Small amount of XP, which means that even if they do get that down, they would need a fort to really...
Dragon Arrow?
It sounded cool.
Just... It's like every joke you say near me makes that same audio cue.
Shout out to Heroes of Fitness for their support on my cool jokes.
Tilted. Oh. Bottom camp, or excuse me, not camp, but fort will fall in favor of Simplicity. That's not enough for the 13 talents here. So HeroesHearth still has the opportunity to force something in the downtime on the top half of the battleground if they would like. That well would be rather convenient, but having a Hanzo, not the best sieging capabilities there. Scatter Arrow bounces off of those buildings.
That's another win for Simplicity. That fort pickup gives them so much XP, and now the race towards 13, HeroesHearth can always find themselves in a poke battle. But when you look at the minimap, you can see the Immortal that HeroesHearth will have to attack Dreadnought is going to be on the right side. Those icons, in case you're always trying to figure that out, those icons are based on the blue team, so their defensive Immortal will be on the left side. The one that they have to move into will be on the right side. Poking without that 13, not as easy. Simplicity, we've already seen them be aggressive moving in. So for 13 will be something you can watch and learn.
We are trying to. Doing my best.
When did that come through?
I don't know. Jimmy just, sometimes he gets upset. You know?
Watch and learn.
Bam Bam here. Gonna eat a Storm Bolt. Actually not gonna land there. King Caffeine now trying to retreat from that scroll ceiling. That was a great wave of force here as the Odin is popped. Stay a while and listen. Hosi trying to make it out, but the Dragon's Arrow comes through. A lot of damage, but the healing keeping up for quite some time. There is the Sanctification as the Dwarf Toss comes through with the scroll ceiling. Zuna now giving the armor over as McIntyre falling low, but Caff keeping himself alive thanks to the heals there of Tiger. on that white main. Only one lay victim at the hands of HeroesHearth, but give a lot of window here towards that Hanzo race on the Immortal.
That negated every 13 talent tier decision we discussed. HeroesHearth able to get some damage in. About 12K, 11K.
Not going to have the halftime kicked off, so no matter what decision is made beyond this point for either team, there's a 10-second window of breathing room in favor of HeroesHearth because of the disadvantage in experience. That's one thing to keep in mind. If HeroesHearth got one more scatter arrow through that, they actually set themselves behind on finishing this game. If Simplicity would be able to race and get the all-in here. 13 now picked up. Halftime will be kicked off by Simplicity, and then that is where we'll watch the active play here of HeroesHearth.
We've got Glass Cannon picked up. Li Ming, a threat as much as she is a liability from here on out.
Holy Ground as well.
The poke battle, this will favor the Li Ming Hanzo.
Nice
stun directly onto the Immortal stun. They blow it up. I think that was not enough. The Ancient Blessings were used there to try and keep him alive, but I don't think he could press a single button there.
No, he couldn't. He very much couldn't. Even if the Icebound came out early, I don't think it happens. There's the stay a while and listen as the Immortal stun ends up coming out. There's the Odin Tiger JK. Using the clemency value there to get the heals out. BBJ is going to be the focus as the Stormbolt does land. Zuna now trying to get the leap in. 2-man, 3-man Dragon's Arrow. Scroll Ceiling getting thrown down. Sanctification is available for McIntyre, but he gets split from the rest of the team. Uses that Holy Ground as everyone kind of getting stuck on that for a minute. And it looks like this is going to be an Immortal here towards Simplicity on the back end while still rounding that full level advantage they have. BBJ turns out with the Ancient Blessings. Howling Blast not landing there from Bam Bam. For anybody wondering how good is Ancient Blessings, that is the only reason BBJ was willing to be offensive there, just to give you an idea. He's like, nah, I can kill this and survive.
Well, as you pointed out last time, win or loss, Odin was used at the tail end of that team fight, so will not be able to push with that. One of the best anti-siege and sieging tools in the game. Simplicity, though, with the level and a half advantage, will escalate towards 16 if they can take both of those towers down and maybe look to try and force a fight and take a keep. But with Yrel showing top, just now coming down, see if they make it here in time to try and get this fight started.
Bam Bam already pops Army. That means they're going to fight there as the Scroll Ceiling does not end up landing. Shielding on the Immortal is already taken down. Another Howling Blast not going to connect as we get Zuna now willing to join the rest of the ranks of Simplicity. 2 turrets in and they will have the 16. There's one. Second one in a couple of seconds as the Immortal about to be dealt with. Howling Blast doesn't end up landing, but keep in mind, 16 will be here in a second. Stay a while and listen, ends up coming through. There's a cleanse. Cap is the only member still stuck with that as he eats the Dragon's Arrow. 16 still out of reach as the Howling Blast comes through. Focus on the Bam Bam and McIntyre. 16 now going to be picked up for Simplicity as Aegis is used. One thing to keep in mind, during that skirmish, nobody actually picked up their 16s fast enough to be impacting that skirmish. Something you always got to think about. 16s don't matter if nobody control ones or picks a single talent. Got it pretty quick here, though, and now Simplicity stick around, try and keep up a siege.
They have an advantage here to take this fight. King Caffeine starting to retain some of his mana. Titan Grenade picked up as well for more burst damage. Holy Ground trying to lock in multiple. Tiger JK, the combo lands there directly on that follow-up. Just able to skirt out there trying to get onto Tiger JK. Instead, they can't. Ancient Blessings used, but they're not able to turn around and get the value. They are forced to retreat as Hosty comes forward with the Odin.
Yeah, but the Odin on cooldown now may be a cooldown that HeroesHearth can take advantage of, knowing that the level and a half that they need to make up for before the next Immortal phase, not having an Odin for 75 seconds is a much more appealing skirmish opportunity from them. 30 seconds away, though, that full level is too far. 16-15 gap is one of the bigger experience differences in Heroes. So it's going to be at least the first half of this Immortal, a lot of free damage for Simplicity. And at this point, Simplicity is in prime position to send this to a Game 5. It's not a clear advantage, but it is definitely in their favor.
It's an advantage you don't always see them have on this against the team, the caliber of HeroesHearth, but they'll find their move in. The minute this starts to go down, that does enable Hanzo to get some poke value, though they're going to ignore that. HeroesHearth getting close to 16 themselves. There's the root. See if we get the combo.
Cleanse already used. by Tiger JK there. Now he's in a bad spot. He's going to get stuck in a corner. There we see the holy ground, but the focus on the McIntyre. Sanctification not available, and he is going to drop here. Tyrael passive blows up, but doesn't gain much value. And now Simplicity is still a man up here in position to be able to kick off this halftime. It will buy 10 seconds for the Tyrael to make his way back, and Sanctification will be here. But how much does it cost HeroesHearth in between that time frame?
Camps have to be dealt with. You can see Urel already peeling off. See if they can get some poke in. The top camp will be pushing for Simplicity. McIntyre still just 10 seconds away. So some of that damage could mount. King Caffeine with the Dwarf Toss out of the root. Once Urel deals with that camp at the bottom, look for them to move back in and try and find an advantage. King Caffeine moving forward. Stun goes through. There's going to be the root from Whitemane. The response is going to be stay a while and listen. Locking in multiple members. This is support making the plays and the counter plays there.
They are very much making the plays here, and there is the halftime we were talking about before. And Jayhow, this is it for HeroesHearth Esports. They have to be willing to take this fight and need to be successful with it here. Otherwise, that's going to be a minimum of a keep, it feels like, here for Simplicity as the Immortals make their way back here.
This gives them the poke area that they need before. Root's just going to miss. King Caffeine walks forward, has that healing static value, will heal up. Hosey just makes it out of the root, but the poking coming in from HeroesHearth is significant. They have the Pierce. Odin is out. They're willing to commit to this fight. They're going in, and maybe even some towards this race. Hosey will turn his attention to the Immortal, while the rest of Simplicity will just try and soak up some of these shots.
Well,
the
look at the
attention is being
backliners.
turned.
The backliners are completely split there. If McIntyre had half a fraction closer, that would have been a holy ground split that would have been able to set up the team. Here, or Simplicity do make their way out for now as the Odin now is on cooldown. No more option for Hosey as the Howling Blast comes through, and now HeroesHearth Esports lost at most 10% of their Immortal HP during that Odin. This window is a huge advantage now in their favor.
Stun the root, the follow-up. In comes Zuna from the backside.
Bam,
The knockback. Bam Bam goes down. King Caffeine, he's living there as the Sanctification, but the combo is going to land. Ishbu just looking for one reset, unable to get it as Tiger JK comes out with the huge heals to keep this team alive. And now Simplicity in full assault mode, but Hosty, he's going to get taken down there by Ishbu.
Ishbu ends up getting the kill after an amazing holy ground split there by McIntyre, now falling extremely low on the mana, questioning if he can go back here. Is this a 4 versus 4 between these teams? Crowan getting pressure onto the backline, looks towards Tiger JK, while Ishbu and friends move up to the advance on K1 Pro. The Raider getting some scout out there, falling pretty low, will be able to heal itself back up. 6 seconds out from Arthas, 25 until Hosty will be alive.
That staggered death might be enough for HeroesHearth if they have the numbers advantage. A Li Ming and a Hanzo damage output can burst through that 20,000 very rapidly. Simplicity will do their best to defend. The Raider scouting out as much as possible to figure out where they can find their tactical defense advantage.
Our last Stormbolt not gonna connect. Bam Bam now making his way from the bottom lane to join the rest of the team. Hosty has spawned, has joined in as McIntyre splits with the Holy Ground. Not going to threat Cap too much as he Stormbolts. Howling Blast ends up landing. There's going to be the Odin. Cleanse already forced there by Tiger JK. Lash is not going to hit a root this time. 14 seconds on Sanctification. There's the Dragon's Arrow. They go on to K1 Pro with the Howling Blast to stay a while and listen, but K1 Pro is just fine here. Still 7 more seconds till Sanct is there for McIntyre. Stormbolt comes out. Immortal shielding now at 4,000 HP. Sanct is here. But HeroesHearth need to find a way to clump up because Simplicity, they've been whittling away at this Immortal.
Hosty contemplating going in. The knockback by Zuna will buy some space there. 19,000 still left on Simplicity's side. They'll look to regroup. Some of the poke comes in. Li Ming goes in there. King Caffeine, there's the stun. They're going to get the follow-up, but they don't get the root that they wanted. And now the Ardent Defender forced to be used there by Zuna. So we get a soft reset. Both standoff continues.
Both teams fail to have a single heroic. 5 more seconds until Rainer's Raider is going to be available, but it's hard to kind of look at that in the same light as some of these other heroics, other than the Sanctifications. 15 seconds on Dragon's Arrow here for Crowan. Once the Dragon's Arrow comes online, I'd expect HeroesHearth to all in because there's still a significant time difference between that and the Ardent Defender. Scarlet Aegis now back online for Whitemane. 1,000.2 HP remain on that Immortal. Now after that last bit of poke there, 700 as HeroesHearth.
Hosty has the quarterback at 7, so if he can move up into grenade range, see if they even have to. McIntyre eating a lot of damage there. The mana pools on the side of HeroesHearth is another thing to consider. BBJ, McIntyre, and Crowan sitting at about 40% or less on each of their respective heroes. Hosty trying to find a way in, but unable to do so. Bam Bam zoning off King Caffeine, the standoff.
Might Dragon Arrow him, and they missed it. They tried to
Wow.
get the execution, and they don't get it, but now Hosty actually goes down with Ishbrew after the stay a while and listen, gets the first reset. There is now Tiger JK going to be his next focus as K1 Pro takes a massive chunk there. The Immortal now spawning with less than 50% shielding, going to get a lot of damage, but with no Odin, not nearly as much threat for Simplicity here.
If you have Tychus alive in this situation, it is a guaranteed keep with that Odin. And if you get 20 between that tower and that keep, you would wait on that Odin to get that big red button and get that push. I like the call from Simplicity here, Dreadnought. They can't push with the Immortal, but HeroesHearth, they have to declare one side or another. And when your focus is split, this might be enough damage. That's actually a very good route there. That's one thing to highlight. We'll take a look at that in a moment. But K1 Pro and team, they might have bit off more than they could chew as the root comes in. Bam Bam is just living on top of Rainer.
He is living on top of them and actually holding his own for a while. We're just now going to get Ishbu ready to join in with the rest of the team. 7 seconds out from a Dragon's Arrow, and this is going to be an easy setup. 4, 3, 2. Who is he going to choose is the question here. If they want the fight, now's the time to do it, as you see Crowan questioning if he wants to pull the trigger there. Waits, draws back, stay a while, Dragon's Arrow, the focus there onto the 2. Do they find the reset? As Tiger is going to be the focus, but the Scarlet Aegis, the healing plus the armor from Zuna holds him alive for a bit longer. Reset 1 comes in, there's a second, and now HeroesHearth tie out this game and have a massive advantage for 50 seconds.
They hold on to both of their keeps. King Caffeine with no more mana will walk back this bottom lane under threat. It's a 5v3, no 20 yet. Odin is going to be used for defense here. No minions nearby. That's normally when you want to try and make use of that, is to clear the minions. So maybe a few seconds too early. Clearing the minions mean they cannot dive in, and that is normally the priority focus, which is the point I want to bring up on that last defense. Deckard, the play made by Deckard on BBJ to root the minions in place, not the heroes in place. It kept the minions out of keep range, which means the keep kept targeting the heroes. And that is such a clutch, minor play that has to be highlighted, and how vital that was. They would have likely cleared it up, but by rooting those minions, somebody has to wear those shots. And BBJ with a heads-up route onto those minions. Very rarely do you say, hey, that's a good route on the minions. That was a perfect one for BBJ.
HeroesHearth now backing out. Will be able to pick up their Shaman and time this with the Immortal phase spawning in 2 more seconds. They have that bottom lane keep now prepped after that last siege to make sure that this will threaten a keep and a little bit of damage possibly onto core with time, where it's not going to be matched by Simplicity on the macro front. So keep track of who ends up showing themselves on the southern lane for Simplicity, because it's got to be Rainer, Yrel, or Tychus. And they don't want to send Rainer or Tychus anywhere but these Immortals here. Zuna able to dodge there at the scroll ceiling as he takes a bit of poke from Ishbu on that Arcane Orb. Positioning and posturing like they're going to get a clear onto this Immortal. Yrel now shows. We'll see what HeroesHearth does.
The root trying to get him locked in there, unable to do so. Dreadnought, King Caffeine, 61 stacks on his level 1. King Caffeine, when he absorbs that splash damage from the orb, procs the Triumvirate. If you can hit a hero with the splash damage on that Immortal, you proc that Triumvirate, so you have to be careful with your positioning there.
Don't know if we got the minigun use there from Hosey, but it might be off cooldown for this next skirmish not to get the bigger they are proc. Bam Bam seems to be the focus as Zuna hits the knockback and the stun. McIntyre completely split. He uses the hardened shield. There's the self-sanctification as the Dragon's Arrow comes through along with the Scarlet Aegis. He's going to teleport away. A bad initiation opener here for HeroesHearth. And now Simplicity, they smell blood in the water, and it is starting with the name of Bam Bam. Stay a while and listen, though, from BBJ is going to hold off that big red button, and Simplicity gain nothing here in that fight.
Dread, the Scarlet Crusade, the upgrade, that's a full cleanse there. So that, I was like, man, everybody just, okay, yeah, Scarlet Aegis, there's the upgrade, very well done there. It's Crowan and team, they'll kick off the halftime show. Odin finally expires. Where will this spawn? Oh, this is in favor of HeroesHearth. Simplicity, they're gonna have to take a fight here, Dread.
They're gonna move up. Cap starts with the door toss, hits the Stormbolt on the McIntyre. Nice wave of force interrupt coming out from Ishbu. I'm not kidding, dude. Ishbu's Li Ming is debatably as good as Crowan's. He's had a lot of big plays throughout this game. Hosty eating a full Seeker chunk, but look at the root combo. They find Hosty, and Crowan goes down here. This is a breaking point here for Simplicity in Game 4 as they keep up here. Land the two-man Stormbolt. Bam Bam's going to be the focus, but the holy ground gives the breathing room necessary. HeroesHearth down Crowan, and now this should be a Simplicity Immortal.
Just wait till you see the damage numbers at the end of this game. That's going to be wild.
Yeah.
Right now, they're trying to hold. King Caffeine willing to eat some of these shots. Zuna trying to zone out as well. He's going to get the jump over, trying to get the knockback. Instead, the Holy Ground will be there instead. Self-cleanse option. Bam Bam trying to survive, but Zuna with the hop in. Hosty almost confirms the kill with the grenade, and now can they kill this? There's the Scarlet Aegis again. And somehow Zuna is surviving in the middle of this. You see Raynor on the backside the entire time, just trying to clear this out. Hanzo 15 seconds away. We'll have the Dragon Arrow. See if he tries to make the big play, Dread.
We get the Odin use here. Zoning off still here as we know the Hanzo in 5 more seconds. As you said with the play of the game, Bam Bam very low. The Holy Ground trying to stop the advance. McIntyre, or King Caffeine also is very low on mana.
Here
he
comes
the armor.
Dragon Arrow.
Comes
Dragon
through.
Arrow.
Tiger is going to be the target there as he comes in with that play of the game. Does not hit the Scatter or maybe Desire, but down Ethereal. No Sanctification available on the map. Map pressure against HeroesHearth on bottom lane. Simplicity is holding off this miracle hold here over this Immortal.
I mean, the crazy thing is, it's not like if they lose the Immortal, it's game over. They still have keeps in the way. That top keep's still very healthy, but they want to win this. They want to win the Immortal and win the game. HeroesHearth with a disadvantage in terms of numbers. Zuna and King Caffeine have been living on the side of HeroesHearth on the map. There's going to be the root with the upgrade. The cleanse is going to be there. King Caffeine walks away, but Tiger JK keeping everybody alive.
Now this is the moment. If HeroesHearth wants this Immortal, they need to move up together as a unit and all in. Crowan hits one more Scatter Arrow, 1.5k on that damage as we see them back out. The race here from Simplicity as they get the damage in.
Just barely.
Stay a while on to Zuna though. Ardent Defender not available for 30, and this is going to be a massive loss for Simplicity. If they lose Zuna, the knockback, the damage, the heal.
Bam Bam has no mana. Bam Bam has no mana. They're going to stay on
rewind.
top of him. Bam Bam's going to be there. Bam Bam's staying alive for now. The potion's coming out. It's enough to keep him alive and walk away. But Simplicity with almost a non-existent shield on this Immortal will push down this top keep. This should guarantee keep. It's late enough in the game. You can threaten game, but Odin is available. Here we go. Wait for him to siege up. When this keep starts to fall, the Odin will come out, and that is when the big red button will try and end this game, Dread.
Ardent Defender available as well. There are a lot of tools here for Simplicity to close this thing out here as they get damage onto K1 Pro. The Hosty with that big red button throws it down onto Bam Bam, trying to stop their advances. The Immortal now makes its way to this keep. Damage coming through, shielding removed 92%, Sanctification drop, but this Immortal is too beefy there with the big red button of Simplicity. And this is going to be Simplicity taking Battlefield of Eternity and sending us to a game number 5.
The way that they did that was so impressive. I mean, if you ever say they fought tooth and nail, that would exemplify that comment right there. The damage numbers coming out, 145,000 damage from Ishbu, 121 from Crowan, 117 on the other side by Hosty, ripping those frontliners apart with that Tychus. So powerful in that fight. But the core of a tank, offlaner, and support, what they did for the last 4 minutes, 5 minutes of that game of just living on that side, that takes a lot of skill, discipline, and mechanics. That was so impressive.
There are only about 1 or 2 supports in the game that can even handle that situation too, and that is one thing to keep in mind. Is like that was a huge showcase as you're like, how good is Whitemane outside of Scarlet Aegis value? That type of situation. Being, in theory, manaless as long as you get enough time, and then being able to poke and prod with the lashes, damage out in the long run, it was very well done by Simplicity there. There was a lot of things they did extremely right, but I think that last hold was, I mean, you go, are you a world-class team suddenly? How did you, how?
At the tail end of that, Zuna, if he dies there, the game's still going.
Yeah.
And Whitemane's like, I got you. It's fine.
Yeah.
It's fine. Guys, we're going to a game number 5. This series has done more than live up to the hype. We'll be back for the conclusion of this one. Don't go anywhere.